if you're looking to solve and find the inverse of a function, what you're going to do is, one, switch your x and y, two, solve for the new y. Okay, by y, it could be whatever the function is. Okay, but as I write them, I would write them with y's, x's and y's. Okay, so here, what I would do is I take my original function, which is y equals 3x plus 2. I'm going to switch my x and y's. So this is going to be rewritten as x equals 3y plus 2. Then I'm going to solve for my new y. So I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, divide by 3, and that is my inverse. So the inverse of f is equal to x minus 2 over 3. We took this h function here, and we switched our x and y, so we get x is equal to 4 square root of y plus 2 minus 3. And then we solve for our new y. We're going to isolate this expression first, so I'm going to add 3 to both sides, divide by 4, and then I want to get rid of this, so I'm going to square both sides. Right. And so here I get x plus 3 squared. I'm going to go ahead and expand that out. So I get x squared plus 6x plus 9 all over 4 squared, which is 16. That's equal to y plus 2. And so now when I solve for my y, I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides, but subtracting 2 is like subtracting how many 16ths? 32. So if I think of that in terms of the fraction, what I can do is I can combine now this all into one single fraction over 16, and I get x squared plus 6x, 9 plus 32 gives me, or minus 9 minus 32 gives me negative 23. And so that is my equation. And so my inverse of h is equal to that calculation, or that expression. Okay. So one of the ways that you can do this on your calculator is you can use the solve feature to do step 2. Step 1 you have to do on your own. So when you set this up, you can use the F2 solve key, type in the equation. Again, again, from this part you have to do your own, but if you type in x equals 3y plus 2, solve for, now remember, this time we're solving for y. And when we hit enter, we get our solution. It confirms x minus 2 over 3. Okay. If we did it for this equation right here, we'd use the solve. X equals, type in our equation, 4 times the square root of y plus 2. Close that off, minus 3, and we're solving for y. When we hit enter, we get our equation again. Here, you can see that it gives you this value. You may have to realize how to combine it back into one single expression. 16ths, 8ths, we need to turn that into 16ths by multiplying top and bottom by 2. So we'd get x squared plus 6x minus 23 all over 16, which again confirms what we did by hand. We go through these last couple. Again, the rest of the class you can work on the homework for these, or again, if you want to do any practice problems and ask me, you can. Okay, but so if we're looking to find the inverse of our p function here, what that means is we're going to take this equation, we're going to switch the x and y. Okay, so I'm going to write x equals negative 2 times the cube root of y minus 6 minus 5. And then I'm going to solve for my y, add 5 to both sides, divide by negative 2. Okay, I'm then going to cube both sides. Okay, so as you go through this here, you can leave it just as it is. So you can take x plus 5 cubed, okay, and then I'll take my negative 2 cubed, it gives me negative 8. It's equal to y minus 6. I'm now going to add 6 to both sides. Adding 6 is like adding how many 8s? 48/8. So I'm going to move this negative up top, okay, so that my fractions are the same denominator. And so when I enter this, I don't need to expand out a cube, even though you do have rules for it. I can just leave that in this form. So, so here is your inverse p function. Okay, just negative the quantity x plus 5 cubed plus 48 all over 8. And then the final example here with this rational equation. Exchange my x and y. Solve for the y. So in this case, I'm going to cross multiply. And then solve what I have. Divide by x. Gives me y minus 3 is equal to negative 7 over x. And here when I add 3 to both sides, adding 3, again, in this case, if you were to write this as a single fraction, adding 3 is like adding how many over x? What over x? 3x over x, right? 3x over x is just 3. So if you're combining that, here we wind up with negative 7 plus 3x, so 3x minus 7 all over x, and that would be our inverse.